Have you ever stopped to question our beliefs or our knowledge in the paranormal? Like, can ghosts be seen during the day? Why do we only investigate at night? Can ghosts haunt multiple locations? Do ghosts think freely or are they stuck on a repeated time loop? Do we gaslight the energy? Should we go into a location blindly? Why? So many questions. Hello and welcome to The Other Side, hosted by me, your host, A-Sauce. I'm obviously your host, A-Sauce. I wanted to do a video today on all things that I feel like we all probably question about the paranormal world. I feel like even though we have gotten to such a very progressive state in the paranormal world, I still feel like we still have a long way to go and we still have a lot to uncover with the paranormal. And I still feel like this field can go in such a positive direction, but we have to ask the questions. So I am going to talk to you guys about 7 different questions that I have personally, but also other people that I know have these questions as well, and they let me know their questions. So if you guys have any questions that I'm missing, that you want to know more about, drop it down in the comments. I think that it's okay to question your beliefs and your reality. I think that it makes you grow in your belief. I think that if you do not question what you believe in, then how do you have like that solid foundation of like, yes, I believe in that 1,000%. I feel like even like my religion and everything like that, I have had moments of questioning my faith myself, and then I've had things that have brought me closer to it. But if I had never questioned those things, I would have never been as close. And I feel like that's the same thing with the paranormal. If I hadn't made these questions, I don't think I would be as knowledgeable. I think that if I didn't sit here and say, well, why do we do certain things, I would not be able to grow further into my love and into the passion that I have for the paranormal. So let's get into our first question. Now, this is one that my boyfriend had personally. He kept asking me, like, can you see ghosts during the day? Yes, you can see ghosts during the day. I think that it should not be a myth that you can only see things at night. That is not reality. You can see a ghost anytime during the day, 5 a.m., 12 p.m., 1, 2, 3, 4, any hours of the night, you can see a ghost. I do think that it is scarier to see a ghost during the day because how could your mind play a trick during the day versus at night when you're using all these equipments and different light sources to manipulate the environment? I feel like when you see a ghost during the day, it's like a solid concrete proof of like, you know, it is there, it does exist. Also, with can ghosts be seen during the day, it also ties into why do we investigate at night? I like to say that my theory behind this is that people like to investigate at night because it's scarier. I think that we have, as a culture and as a society, we have hyped up the darkness as something terrifying, something that allures to something that is not always there. We have hyped up nighttime to be a certain thing. And that to me is why I feel like a lot of people investigate at night, and also because of the witching hour. So it is largely believed, I believe here, mainly in the US, where we believe that the witching hour from 2 to 4 is like this open veil to the paranormal world. And so that is when ghosts can most likely come and show their presence is during that specific time frame. So I feel like at night it just gives this aura that we have all been grown up to believe through cinema, through Hollywood, through stories and everything like that. It always just seems like the activities at night, but we shouldn't just stick to that and think that only activity happens at night. Activity also happens during the day as well. There's two different worlds that you can have, in an investigation or seeing the paranormal. You can have a daytime experience, and to me, that's more terrifying than a nighttime experience, in my personal opinion. Even though, yes, it is kind of scary to be in a room where you can't see anything and you're hearing voices and you're like, where is that coming from? Daytime light is security, darkness is a sense of instability, and it gives the body a more susceptible feeling towards getting a paranormal interaction, because you feel safe during the day. You don't feel safe at night. That's my personal opinion. That's why I think that, we investigate at night. I think that's why some people don't think that they can see ghosts during the day. Second question. Can a ghost haunt multiple locations? And is there a way we could do an investigation to try to summon a spirit at the same time? I do want to know about this one, and it came to my mind from my boyfriend because we were doing a paranormal tour at the El Paso Main Library. It was a sick tour, by the way. They led us into the basement and the sub basement. They said, we're taking you down to the basement. I was like, all right, I like this. And then they said the sub basement. And I said, did we pay for this? Because if we paid for this, this is good money. I don't know if we paid for this. I just know my boyfriend put in reservations. I have no idea what he did, but I still appreciate it. So, anyways, the person that had led the tour expressed that there was a little girl haunting the place because before the library built, it was a cemetery. Now, let me pause. Let me go into a side story so that way you can understand why it was a cemetery. Because you're like, wait a minute, you built a library on top of a cemetery? So downtown El Paso back in the day, I don't remember. I should have looked up what time frame. I'll probably put it a little factual thing in here. Back in the day, El Paso did not have like any main cemeteries. Why? I don't know. But they didn't have any main cemeteries, and so a lot of times bodies would be buried downtown, and they would have like makeshift cemeteries. The problem was downtown El Paso back in the day, we used to get a lot of flooding. I mean, it still floods pretty bad in El Paso, and I don't understand why we've never solved the issue or why it gets this bad, but it floods really, really bad in El Paso. We have had multiple floods that were catastrophic here in El Paso. There was the 2006 incident, and then there was one back in the day that is the reason why El Paso High School is haunted. But it really bad floods here in El Paso, and so we had all these makeshift cemeteries downtown. And what was happening was that they were bringing the bodies up from the ground, even though we were burying them pretty deep. The mud and the soil and the flooding and everything was bringing those bodies up to the surface, and it was starting to become a problem because whenever it would flood, you would be getting all these bodies being washed around downtown, and it was really unsanitary. And also, we want to make downtown beautiful. We don't want to make downtown, nothing but cemeteries. So El Paso had decided, finally, enough is enough. We're going to actually have a cemetery. And so that's when Concordia was built. Concordia was built to basically count as a cemetery and take all of the bodies that were downtown and put them into a cemetery. So everywhere downtown, every single place in downtown El Paso, Texas, you will talk to people about when they renovated a building and dug up the ground. They will tell you that they found multiple bodies that were never removed properly. And I did not like that the library said that maybe they missed something, and tried to pass it off as it was not the people who moved the bodies' fault for why they missed the bodies, because it's such a problem. Every single time they build anything downtown, they renovated the history museum, found bodies. They built a baseball park downtown, found bodies. They can't even dig up and make a building beautiful again because there is bodies down there, and it's also a historical landmark. But yeah, so everywhere downtown has just all these bodies that were never removed properly. And so it does add to the hauntedness of downtown. But going back to the story, so this little girl spirit was unfortunately one of the bodies that they did not move properly, and they had found it during the library's renovations. Which, by the way, the renovations of the library are ugly. The building before the main library building way prettier, way pretty. I don't know why they did this, but anyways, so they said that this little girl haunts this place because they found her body in the ground at the cemetery at the library location. Excuse me. They moved her to Concordia, but her spirit is still there. That's what they claim. But like I said, they moved her to Concordia, and they have like a child cemetery section in Concordia, and they say that she haunts that location as well. So I'm like, how does a ghost be able to haunt multiple locations? Is she attached to her body? Is she attached to objects? What is the reason behind her spirit lingering? And it really got me thinking, like, can ghosts really haunt two different locations? Is that possible? Or are we saying that a spirit is something that a spirit is not for the sake of trying to explain why that spirit is there? So I do want to put this theory to a test. I want to try to see if we can get any validity towards, is that child's spirit really haunting the library and Concordia? Or is it two different spirits and ghosts really cannot haunt two different locations because a lot of times most of them are residual energies? It's a question. All right. All right. Next, do we gaslight the energy? So this one is like a big one for me. I want to say that when I watch other people do a paranormal investigation, they provoke, they use objects, they use other methods to get some kind of reaction. And I want to say this, I do not condone whatsoever some of these methods. I think that trigger objects are fine. Like if there's a child's spirit, use some toys. But going in with an Ouija board, doing any kind of seances or rituals, I do not agree with that at all. I think that that is asking for an invitation towards more spirits and to more demonic things. So I do not like that. I think that you're gaslighting and manipulating the energy into something more and bigger than what was already there. You're inviting things in. You're opening a door that does not need to be open. I think seances, rituals, Ouija boards, I think all three of those, they are asking for you to invite more in. And we don't need more. We don't need those doors open. Why are you people using those? I think it's so tacky too when people use Ouija boards. I'm like, dude, put it away. Please. I absolutely beg of you. Next, I also, do not like at all any type of like getting angry with the spirit, yelling at them, cussing at them. I think it's very disrespectful and very distasteful. I think all of this is gimmicky. Like all those things that I named are very gimmicky, they're distasteful, and you are pissing the spirits off. You are not being kind. And what do you expect to get back from them if you're not being respectful of the energy and where you are? You're in their location, you're a guest, and that's how you're acting as a guest. I just don't agree towards it at all, and I do think that you gaslight the energy into something negative, something that does not need to be provoked in that type of manner. So I do not agree with this at all, but I feel like it's a question, but I also feel like it's a statement of like, listen, we don't need to be gaslighting the energy, okay? We don't need to be sitting there and provoking in any negative ways. Use trigger objects, ask questions. Don't try to force anything at all. Next question. The rule of being in a location for more than one day. So I have heard about this theory a lot, and I'm surprised that more investigators don't do this, where you investigate for multiple days. Because I like to say that when you're in a building for one day, you cannot get a full assessment of whether a location is haunted or whether it's not haunted. You're there for one day. You don't know what's going on that day. You don't know what's going on with the spirits. You don't know if maybe they're not wanting to be active that day. Maybe they don't have enough energy. Maybe that's just not when the anniversary of their death is. You're not going to be guaranteed a lot with one day. I feel like if you're there for at least a week, then you can really gauge what the energy is. You can go in there 3 days blind, and then the last 2 days be like, okay, we went in 3 days blind. Like, this is what we got. Um, and now we can go ahead and see what else we can get within the few days. I've seen a lot of really good investigators doing this, such as Nick Groff. He does it with mostly, and also Most Haunted do this as well. I think that is the most effective way to see if a location is haunted or not, because it goes beyond one night, and it should definitely be a factual proof of like the beyond, because you are there for more than just one day. You're collecting more evidence. You're allowing the spirits to get familiar with you. You're allowing the spirits to get comfortable with you. You're showing the spirits, like, hey, I'm here and I actually want to be respectful towards your space. Now, I kind of touched on it on the last question, but I think that the argument and the question, should you go into an investigation blind? My answer is always going to be yes. I think that you should go into an investigation blind. I think that you'll go back to gaslighting. You're going to gaslight the energy, because when you go into a location knowing, okay, the owner haunts this place, right? You're going to go in with that mindset, okay? You're going in there knowing the owner's name, what the owner looks like, what the owner's life was like. And you're asking the questions of, are you so and so? Did you live this life? Did you die this way? You are feeding the answers to the spirits. And you are taking anything that they say as validation that it's them. I think that it's way more, like, I guess I would say it's more scientifically, like, factual when you go in blindly and you say, who am I speaking to? And then they tell you the name. You go back after the investigation, you find out that that was the owner, and then you have more concrete evidence that you were actually talking to the owner. Not, I was gaslighting the spirit, asking if they were the owner and feeding them that information, and then the spirits were just giving me back what I wanted. I think going into it blindly allows you to really gauge the spirits, really see the location in a different lens. And I think you should compare and contrast the two. Day one, you go in it blindly, or like I said in the last one, 3 days blindly, if you're able to, and if a location allows you to. And then, you do a few days of like, okay, I went in blindly, but now I'm ready with ammo, and now I know who the spirits are, what's going on in this home, and I have a better attack plan to get more evidence. I just feel like a lot of people probably don't believe in the paranormal or believe in concrete evidence, because we do gaslight. We do go in there already with a list of people who died there, why they died there, and they don't allow themselves to go in there and be like, let's see who talks to me. Let me not say, are you Anna? Are you this or that? Just saying, who am I speaking to? And letting the spirits speak back to you. Now, this is a question my boyfriend had, and I thought it was really hilarious. He said, where do they go when they're not haunting? And I was like, babe, really? I think that ghosts are always around you. You just can't always feel them. You can't always see them. And I do believe that if you don't see or if you don't feel them, it does not mean that they just disappear. Or a lot of spirits are residual energy, so they go on a loop. So maybe it's not their time of day where they're going on their loop of repeating life after life. I think that to think that ghosts just go away is not factual, I guess I would say. It's very much like, yeah, no, like, I'm here all the time. You know what I mean? I'm a human. We don't just disappear. I don't think anything can disappear. I mean, maybe they can disappear in the walls and stuff, but not really just go away and you don't see them for days. They're just there. They just don't want you to know that they're there, basically. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to know. Do ghosts have the ability to think? Again, I think that ghosts are residual energies. So do they actually think for themselves? I think it really depends. Like if it's a demon, yes. If it's residual energy, no. If it's a spirit who is just lingering around, maybe they think, maybe they're like, what is all this? Because my boyfriend was like, well, how do they feel about modern technology? And I was like, well, a lot of ghosts get mad when you renovate places and they don't really like their environment changing because then it's not mimicking what they had in the past life. So a lot of them do get upset over that. So I think that, do ghosts look at the modern world and probably say, what is that? Oh yeah, most likely. That's why I think that, like, when you go into a very old building and you go in with a lot of equipment, I think that's your best bet to get activity, because they've never seen a camera, they've never seen all of this technology that we have, and I do think that they can think in some kind of capacity, some kind of way. But yeah, those are all of my questions that I have. If you have any questions, like I said, leave them in the comments. Let me know. I'm going to be more than happy to hear your questions and what you guys think about the paranormal world and what your burning questions are of, like, where do ghosts go? Like my boyfriend asked. Or maybe you have a different question. I don't know. Thank you so much for watching. I was your host, A.Sauce. This was The Other Side Questions. I hope you guys have a good one, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye.